brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Good morning and welcome to Weigh In. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching here in New Zealand or further afield. Nice to have your company on a Monday morning. Usually on Weigh In for our first segment, we jump straight into celebrating the weekend's winners, trying to tell you where they're heading next, and we get down to the business of racing. This week, of course, the business of racing seemed to pale in significance. We all know what happened on Thursday, the tragic accident at Ashburton and the loss of a young life in Megan Taylor. Many people in the industry still coming to terms with that, the shock which turned to sadness and permeates through all of us. We here at Weigh In and the racing industry, for those who didn't know Megan, know that the game will go on, but we feel that loss too. To Megan's friends and colleagues, to our brothers and sisters in the saddle, we know this is an incredibly tough time, and we will honour Megan and talk about her later in today's show. Andrew Castles joins me in the studio. Andrew, it is the worst part of our great industry.
Yeah, it sure is, Michael. Well said. Look, it brings it home just what a dangerous occupation it is that those jockeys partake in. And look, the emotions at Rapa on Saturday were very real and very raw. A number of riders that we're a small community. They ride inter-island, so they knew Megan well, a lot of them, and you could tell that they were very, very affected by what had happened. It's just so sad and so tragic.
Yep, that appetite for racing dulled over the weekend, and we do know that anything that happened since race 2 at Ashburton on Thursday is nowhere as important as the consequences of that tragedy. As I said, we will discuss Megan Taylor and send her off in appropriate fashion later in Weigh In today, but to all of those out there who are hurting deeply, we are thinking of you. Let's head to the racing over the weekend, and Awapuni's meeting was transferred to Trentham. Two wonderful mares went head to head down the straight in the Manawatu Challenge Stakes. Here's a great caller in Tony Lee to bring them home.
Darcy Labella looking for an out, didn't get it there, got shoved back in. Meanwhile, Belclair comes after them, and Coventina Bay as coming right down the outside, and Packing Rockstar getting through on the inside. Here they've got Deerfield Old Town Road. Darcy Labella's into the clear now, and Coventina Bay's trying to chop them back right down the outside. Darcy Labella's in front. She's a length clear. Coventina Bay's trying to draw her in down towards the line. She's done it again, Darcy Labella.
She's just the complete professional.
It's just amazing what she can do, because I tell you, she was pint-sized when she came to the farm, and what she's turned into, if you knew how big a heart she's got in her, you know, it's unbelievable. But what a record, eh? She's printing them off.
Has she surprised you? From the farm to Ellen's?
I think so, yeah, because she just keeps on giving, and she's done better and better. Like, look at her condition. She's had a good campaign. She's goes to the paddock on Monday. Ellen said, we're not going to the well or anything, straight to the paddock, and we'll come back in the autumn, and never knows what happens.
She's got a really good turn of foot no matter what the track conditions are, and she puts in right the way to the line. Yeah,
she has, and I think if you get her on a 4 or 5, there'll be no difference. She can just put it in.
Okay, so she's going to the paddock. That, in my mind, says she might be there early in the spring carnival next season.
Oh, Ellen's got a lot of thoughts, and we've got a lot of ideas, but hey, we'll just see where we land, and she'll be back in the autumn and then see where we go.
Okay, well done.
Thanks, mate.
She's been brilliant again, Scrapper.
Yeah, she travelled quite keen today the whole way, and then I got stuck in her pocket and had to use all the 14 hands of her to push out, and yeah, she scoots away and she does it all herself.
It's quite an impressive fact with her size to bullock her way out like that and flatten out again quickly. She's a complete racehorse.
Yeah, genuine racehorse. Wish they were all like that.
Well done, Scrapper.
Thank you.
Turning into a wonderful horse indeed, and a lovely replacement for Alan Sharrock, who very shortly, of course, will lose the services of Cinerama, who is in foal. And Butch, two wonderful Taranaki mares in a drag race down the Trentham Straight, and to get the feeling 1400 with a fit horse suited Darcy Labella better than maybe 1400 with a still improving horse in Coventina Bay.
Yeah, look, as they both said, she's just all racehorse. There's not much of her, but what there is pure racehorse. She did get pocketed, and Colorado Star had her in a pocket, as we'll see here, and Jonathan has to try and shoulder out there, off balance there. luckily, I suppose, Colorado Stride dropped off a little bit, but she made her own luck there, and then she just knuckles down to it and gets the job done. Look, she's got an imposing win record. She's won 11 from 17. Very, very few horses can do that. I wasn't convinced for a while that she was a 1400 metre horse, but gee, she's been so strong the last three at 1400 metres that I'm very convinced now. I've had a bit of a ribbing from Alan about that.
I'm sure he does love a good ribbing, does Alan Sharrock. So obviously 2 Group 2s out of the way now. The Group 1's the natural target for her, and I would have thought the most natural of the Group 1 targets would be the New Zealand Thoroughbred Breeders, which would mean extending out to 1600, although Alan has till April to get her ready for that.
Yeah, I don't know, because she'll have a break now. She has, as Noel said, been up for a while. Whether or not that's on the dance card, I'm pretty sure I know that the Tarzino will be on her dance card in the spring. I'd be staggered if she didn't come through the Waikato Stud Foxbridge and then into the Tarzino. What she does before then, I don't know. But look, yeah, she might get out to a mile against her own sex, but 1400 just seems to be absolutely perfect for her now. She was extraordinary at Pukekohe. She absolutely brained them there, and look, she was very, very good again on Saturday.
Let's hear from the rider of the second horse, Coventina Bay, and Craig Grills, who is a long way in front, in fact 9 wins in front on the premiership, and he probably couldn't win this 200 metres from home, but she kept on closing.
Well, Craig, your impressions of that performance today?
Good, really good. You know, only second up today. Coming out, was sort of wild with a bit of cover, and she's tracked into it nicely. Went for let down, what she has, but you know, to the credit, all credit to the winner. You know, she's fought it pretty tough, but probably come up against a fitter horse on the day, but she's coming up really, really well.
The future looks really positive for her going this time.
It does, yeah. She's coming up as good as ever.
She sure is, and she has a lot of Group 1 races on her agenda, in fact, possibly 5. Andrew, talking to Robbie Patterson, he said, look, we're going to go to the Telegraph as a way of getting fit for the Thorndon. So Group 1 into Group 1. Here's the Thorndon market. A bit of class there at the top of it, if La Creek in fact turns up. But we know Coventina Bay most absolutely is turning up.
Yeah, interesting approach, because look, that Telegraph can be like a 1400 metre race. Remember Kawi missed by the barest of margins, and he wasn't a 1200 metre horse, but nearly got away with it. So with the right conditions, she could be highly competitive. Then into the Thorndon, she'd be very competitive. Then I suspect the Herbie Dyke would be on her dance card, having won it last year.
$450,000.
450,000, yeah. So look, they've got some big races coming up, and she was very good on Saturday, and she'll only get better.
So with her, the plan is Telegraph, Thorndon, Herbie Dyke on Butcher's Track, then the Bone Crusher, which is at Pukekohe on the second day of the carnival there, and then potentially ending on the New Zealand Thoroughbred Breeders in April. 5 Group 1s back-to-back for her. There have been offers made for Coventina Bay, and she is going to be sold by her connections after she's finished racing. So they will not breed from her. She is on the market to be sold after she finishes racing. And as we know these days, the way mares are valued, it's going to be a great return for Coventina Bay. Oscillata getting her black type there too in finishing third. That was the quality race of the day, shall we say, the weight for age race, and the race with the Group 1 form heading forward. Some of the Cups form coming up over the summer will come out of our next race. It was the Manawatu Cup, and this was a pearler of a ride on Sagunta.
Sides, Platinum Invaders now ridden for luck from Levita Vishvi and Charm Star as they swing the corner. It is Segundo in front, Marietta Lane, Subtle Point starting to put in with a run, and then Margaret Jean starting to come home as well, and Platinum Invaders trying to get through underneath of these. Still Segundo's the leader. Out wide, Subtle Point, Platinum Invader closer to the insides, rounding off, and Soprano Supreme starting to run on. Here's Segundo still in front, going to go all of the way in the cup, and Segundo to the line. It'll get it and get it brilliantly. What a win. Segundo from either side.
Beautifully judged ride.
It was good, yeah. It's a bit different standing on the sidelines when I normally ride them, but 53 was too light for me, and it's outstanding to see him win today.
The rain fell. I thought maybe they dented the chances, but he just really loved his work out there today.
Yeah, exactly. He's a horse that likes like a track like the road. The firmer the better, and when the rain come, we didn't actually think he was going to keep carrying on like that, but no, he rolled along and put them to it on the corner, and he won really well.
He's a horse that's done a lot for the stable. He's been there for a long time and he's been consistent throughout his career.
He has been, yeah. We thought he was going to be a very good sprinter earlier on, and come group place, and the further he got, the better he got, and the more age, the better he got. So he's coming into his prime now. Even though he's 7, he's going to be a good cup horse, I reckon.
Well done.
Thank you. Cheers.
Part of a double for Team Mackay at Trentham on Saturday, and he's bred to be a sprinter. His dam was a very high-class sprinter, but no, he is now a Cups horse and a stayer. And Butch, we have a couple of Cups coming up. You won the QE2 Cup, which is the former City of Auckland Cup, not in Auckland this year, January 1. Then the Wellington Cup, and that's going to be an interesting form pointer. I'm just not sure what it told us.
Yeah, look, I thought Platinum Invador might have told us that he's coming back to somewhere near his very best. He got down in the worst of it. Gee, the rail was the devil, wasn't it? They didn't want to be anywhere near that when we saw the head on. And he made really good ground there, so he was all right. Soprano Supreme was good from that point of view. I thought Margaret Jean was okay as well. And yeah, the winner, gee whiz, you can't take too much away from him. The lightweight helped, but not really one adept in the wet conditions. So got away with it with a perfectly judged Lisa Allpress ride. But if you look back to the inside there, I think they run a Platinum Invador under the top weight, probably the best pointer towards a Windsor Park QE2 Cup.
Yeah, spoke to Lisa Latta about him about a week ago, and she said he is still a run behind. He missed the run with the scratching out of Rapa the previous week, so he should be coming on for this race. You put together a beauty here. If this holds up, you've obviously changed the name of the race to honour and remember, of course, the late Majesty who passed this year. So when you look at it on paper, Butch, it looks an absolute beauty. One name stands out. You know him pretty well. Do you think Alan Sharrock will line up Cinerama in the Queen Elizabeth?
Safely through the Zabeel, I reckon he will. She's not allowed to race after the 2nd of January due to the time that she was served. And if she comes through the Zabeel in fine order, I can't see any reason why he wouldn't. With a couple at the top of the handicap, Defibrillate still in there. She, I think, gets in with 55.5 kilos. Now, that would be a luxurious weight for her. There's nothing to lose as long as she's safely through the Zabeel. So she may well run, which would add tremendous interest. It is a really, really good race. We couldn't really call it the City of Auckland Cup this year, being at Te Rapa, so reverted to the traditional name, and Windsor Park Stud were great to get on board and take on that sponsorship. And look, it struggled a bit, that race, for a few years, but the stars are aligning, and there'll be a few come out of that for sure, but I reckon it'll be a cracking race.
Okay, the Wellington Cup obviously back at Trentham last weekend of January, and ladies' man, if you talk to Alan Sharrock, there's a lot of Alan Sharrock on the show this morning. He's telling us this is the one he's set for the Cup, and that will scare the bookmakers. Again, some of the horses we're seeing in the Queen Elizabeth turning up, and a couple of those newer type names like Ladies' Man. When you see these horses, and not too many of them are going to be copying the 58s or the 60s, which punters don't tend to gravitate to, we've got a nicely even balanced summer of Cups racing, Butch.
Yeah, we have, and that's great because we are renowned for our stayers. A lot of them get sold, but there are still plenty that race here, and they're racing for some good money as well. Yep, Alan's pretty keen on Ladies' Man, and the run was maybe a pass on Saturday, but I'm not going to doubt him. I've done it too many times and been wrong. Dionysus, that could well be the one that's awfully hard to beat. Look, owned by Ron and Fran Dixon, who past president of the Wellington Racing Club, Ron, and I'm sure he would like nothing more than to win a Wellington Cup, and I know the James Wellwood stable will have that in their mind firmly. So the win was, or the runner-up position behind Victor Vegas was really good in the Sky City Hamilton Waikato Cup, and yeah, I reckon Dionysus might be pretty hard to beat Cup Day down there.
At this time of the season, the 2-year-old racing starts to take on so much more significance. We're getting close to the Karaka Million at Pukekohe on January the 21st. Not all of the 2-year-olds, of course, end up at the Karaka Million or are even eligible. Here's the 2-year-old race at Trentham. The leader, heavily backed, but a first of a different type. Here we'll talk shortly after the win of Pinion.
And Love Tania Mackenzie's the leader. Pinion is trying to chase it down, very genuine. And then on the outside, Valentine stick to the orders closer to the inside. Here it is, Mackenzie just in front. Pinion's laying it down to it now, though. Pinion raced up, hit the front, 100 metres to go, and got away from Valentine closing off. And then Mackenzie and stick to the orders runs on the rail, but Pinion today bolts in. Pinion got
the key was the getaway.
Yeah, that's it. This one, she just jumped a little tardily her 2 runs, so to get her out the gates was, you know, I was happy with the first half of the race, but the further we went, the easier she was travelling, and when I give her a squeeze, she really picked up.
Okay, the other 2 were a little bit inexperienced outside you, so that race day experience was key.
Definitely. Like, I'm not sure if it was intentional by the guys to go up the middle of the track, but it suited me where I was sat anyways, and I was keen to get a lead down to the last 200. So look, it worked out very well, and fair play to the filly. She's picked up nicely.
We hear a lot more accents on weigh-in than we used to these days in the jockeys' interviews, and it's great to have them all here. And Joe Doyle, Butch, 2 impressive youngsters here, one a horse, one a man.
Yeah, that's right. It is fantastic to have them bolster the riding ranks. Of course, we see Craig Zaki and Warren Kennedy as well from South Africa, and Joe doing a really good job. Ping Yan, I've got to give it to Lisa Latta though. Had her on the radio show on Friday into Australia. She had 15 runners. I said Hunter and Frankie need a Christmas present, which is the best one to back, and she was Ping Yan. She said she'd improved.
Will the money make it to Hunter?
No, that was finished by about race 7 at Te Rapa. But anyway, I'm sure we'll find something. Won't be just Savaloy suit, Michael. They'll be okay.
No, I thought they might be. Well, first winner for Stephanos, and look, when you have these Japanese-bred horses come in, he did win at 2, Stephanos, but he obviously was a vastly superior 3-year-old, so you get a feeling anything, particularly pre-Christmas, for a horse like him out of Navara Park is a real bonus for them.
Yeah, and a big result for Navara Park. Look, they've become a really big player and investor. They've, you know, with Stallions there, King of Comedy's there as well, I think, Stefanos, and to get that win pre-Christmas, really important with the upcoming sales. You know, there'll be a number at the Karaka complex for the New Zealand Bloodstock sales, so that certainly helps.
Yep. He's actually equal first season stallion alongside Embellish at the moment, 1 all, a long way to go, but well done to Navara Park. That level of investment, of course, is enormous, and when you get those early wins as those Japanese stallions start to have a bigger mark in this part of the world, can only be good news for them. Talking about races being moved from Awapuni, the Eulogy Stakes was supposed to be there 9 days ago. It turned up once again at Te Rapa, which has picked up an awful lot of black type racing from other tracks in the last 18 months. Thank you, Butch. We appreciate you putting them on for us. Here is a famous set of colours, and instantly you think, well, this will be well bred. Polygon winning the Eulogy for Cambridge Stud. Well, by highly recommended. So one of the older stallions from the old days gets the job done for a very informed Lance Noble.
Sakura Girl out wide, then Soph Mays warming up late. Polygon went to the lead at the 100. Lebrasi and Soph Mays arriving late, but it's Polygon. Polygon will win the Lawnmaster Eulogy Stakes. Photos for second between either Lebrasi or the stablemate in Soph Mays.
Yeah, highly recommended. One of the stallions that Cambridge Stud inherited when Joe and Brendan purchased the place a few years ago, Butch. And look, this one, blinkers on for the first time, has improved every start, looks a very good filly. And speaking to Lance Noble, he said, no, we're not going to be heading this week to the 8 Carat to take on Legato. You can leave Legato out of us for a while. We're going to the Royal Stakes on New Year's Day, and she might be a far better filly than lots of us realised.
Yeah, and they got the bonus too. They weren't going to Awapuni, or didn't go to Awapuni last week, so they were able to jump into the race and get the win, which she was really impressive in doing. Look, a couple of runs in behind, pretty good. I thought Family Ties was very good with no luck. I thought the third horse was good, as was I'm a Rich Girl was okay down towards the inside. So there's a bit out of that for the Royal Stakes this year, sponsored by Elsdon Park. So look, looking forward to that race. But yeah, we'll see shortly why they might want to stay away from the 8 Carat.
Well, it's a funny thing, isn't it? When a filly as good as Legato turns up, it sounds like, oh, she'll just dominate filly of the year. But of course, she'll barely not race in another filly of the year race after the 8 Carat. So it almost creates a vacuum, because she'll get to the Karaka Classic and probably to Australia, which I would think that leaves a hole there for another filly to take the leadership of that race.
Yeah, absolutely. And those points that were accumulated on Saturday and the points that will be accumulated on New Year's Day by whoever will prove really, really valuable. You would think that she'll scoop the main points out of Boxing Day. And as you say, they might become irrelevant in the race towards that Filly of the Year series that's so well chased and so important to those fillies in their careers later on.
Legato was at Te Rapa. We'll get to her in a second. Before then, on Sierra is a horse who Stephen Marsh has needed to be incredibly patient with. Had a tendon injury, you thought maybe that was the end of the career. And for those out there who have got a horse who's had a tendon injury, here's what they can bounce back and do. In the Marsh colours, pushing through now, beautiful ride, and wins a very strong open handicap at Te Rapa on Saturday on her favourite track.
Sierra's getting out and is going to try and slingshot it late, and Paisley Park out wide. On Sierra's made the lead 50 metres off the post. Oh, that's as easy as you like. On Sierra won it second. There's photos here between the Paisley Park.
It's not always a disaster, Butch. When they get injured, you hear about them after one start, you think, oh, well, that'll be the end of this. And sometimes they can fight back, and this horse must want to be a racehorse, and the connections must have wanted to show that patience, and they deserve victories like this.
Yeah, time's been a friend to him for sure, and look, he loves the circuit there at Te Rapa. He's won 3 of his last 4 years there. They were talking about maybe heading to the Taupo Cup, which is worth a significant amount of money, 70 grand.
70 grand this
so
year.
Hats off to the Taupo Club. They do a wonderful job down there, Terry Campbell and his team. But I think they'd have to aim up at the Rich Hill Mile now. I said to them on Saturday, Stephen and Dylan, I said, goodness me, you know, it just loves it here. And why wouldn't you be running in the Rich Hill Mile? And pretty sure that's the way they're going to go now.
Yeah, my apologies for calling on Sierra a mare. Of course, he is a boy. On Sierra, as Butch said, heading to the Rich Hill. That's on January the 1st, which the horse races left-handed, predominantly because of that tendon injury in the past. Has had 3 wins at Te Rapa, also one at Hastings, so seems perfectly suited there, because if the Rich Hill was at Ellerslie, there'd be no on Sierra there. Just talking about Stephen Marsh, I need to ask you this. How did you possibly end up with Stephen Marsh as the person handing out the awards for your fashion on the fields for females on Saturday?
No, that had nothing to do with me.
Had nothing to do with you?
No. Okay. That would be like leaving a rabbit in charge of a lettuce, wouldn't it? To be fair.
I thought Fox in the hen house is what came to mind.
Yeah, something like that.
Never seen him look so happy in my life. He
was like a man with 2 of them, Michael. He was absolutely beside himself that he'd first been asked by the vets, and second that he got to go and do it.
Yes, we'll move on from that. Stephen Marsh handing out the trophies for and the sashes for the fashion in the fields. I think there was also a male fashion in the field, but he didn't seem that interested in that one. Let's talk about what's going to be happening at Te Rapa on New Year's Day. You had this massive meeting which you've taken over, and it's not a case of Auckland Thoroughbred racing at Te Rapa. This is a Waikato Racing Club meeting now, and you have an enormous Group 1 to headline the day. Yeah,
it's going to be a cracker, isn't it? Look at the market, Levante, Imperatrice, Bonnie Lass, Let's Be Glen, Dragon Leap, who was just super the other day, Babylon Berlin galloped between races, and that's just to mention the top half dozen of them. It's got depth to the race. Really looking forward to it. It's great that Sistema have stayed on board to sponsor it. In fact, we've had wonderful uptake from sponsors that have been with these races at Ellerslie and have stayed on board for this year, New Year's Day, and of course on Derby Day in March as well. So look, it's fantastic for racing in the Waikato, for the people of the Waikato and Hamilton to have an opportunity for these 2 races. They've got to be held somewhere, and we've been the beneficiary of having them this year. It's created a lot of work for the staff, for Bart and his track team, but also we've only got a very small office staff. There's me and 2 others in there, and we've just pulled off 2 big days for Christmas and now a refocus for New Year's Day. So really looking forward to it. We've made it a free gate for people to come along. Look, Christmas is a drag on expenses for everyone. So we've decided that it's a free day, lots of kids entertainment invested heavily in that. So if families wanting something to do, it's high class sporting action, that's what it is, coming to see high class racehorses, high class jockeys, and they can come and do it hopefully on a fine day with you one, and they can do it at a really inexpensive price.
What about for people who like to get dressed up on New Year's Day and they think of Ellerslie and the Cuvée? Are there hospitality packages at that sort of level available for January the 1st?
Yep, we've got upstairs in the Foster's Lounge, there's a dinner, a lunch and drinks package, but we've got Cuvé's what would you call it, third cousin, not little brother. It's called the Colours Lounge. It's on the birdcage as well. It's not appointed like Cuvée, but it does have a wonderful view. There will be a big screen there, and there's a ticket available there at an inexpensive price. So look, there's something for everyone, but it is such a great day's racing, and it's a day that we're really looking forward to hosting for this year.
So free to get in?
Yep.
Okay, that's great. That's Te Rapa, of course, on January the 1st as they start will continue an absolutely massive summer. Another major race meeting which is going to be moved, of course, is the Karaka Million. It heads to Pukekohe on January the 21st, and Legato headlines the 3-year-old Classic Mile. It has 2 massive names at the top of it, Legato and Wild Knight. Here is Legato with, is that Bellon Rouge inside it there? So this is obviously after race 2, I believe, on Saturday, and I'm not sure she's the best horse in the country, but she's the most exciting one.
She'll be pretty close to it. She is a gorgeous example of the thoroughbred. She fills the eye. I've seen her a couple of times. She resumed with us, and then we saw her again on Sarton Day when she ran as well. And look, she's just a beautiful, beautiful filly that keeps developing. And why wouldn't she be at $1.90? But I tell you what, the boy one, Wild Knight, he's a cracker as well.
It's a great head-to-head story, male, female, smaller stable, even though Ken and Bev do a great job. They don't have massive numbers against Tiaka, who have huge numbers. It's going to be a great storyline for us over coming weeks. And, of course, both of them heading to Pukekohe on Boxing Day. So she'll be heading to the 8 Carat and he's heading to the Uncle Remus.
Yeah, he is. And, look, the further they get into their celebrations, the more some of the owners compare him to Farlap. So I'm sure we'll... we will see just how good he is on Boxing Day.
Looking forward to that. Also, the Karaka 2-year-old has a very open feel to it this year. Let's check out the market there. And we have equal favourites, Ulanova and Ethereal Star. Butch, I believe you've got a share in one here. Tokyo Tycoon, and your lovely wife has a share in a different one. That's going to make for an interesting Karaka Million.
Tiny little shares. But yeah, so that's really exciting to have the possibility of a runner. I was at Ellerslie with the inception of the Karaka Million, worked hard with the New Zealand Bloodstock team, Sir Peter Petrea and Andrew and the team pulling it together in the first instance. So to possibly have a runner in one of them will be a tremendous thrill.
Spoke to James McDonald, you might have heard of him, on Friday, and he said he is still very keen to come home to the Karaka Million. Now, really interesting conversation with James. He said, I do most of my bookings 2 weeks in advance. I can't say to people I'm going to be here or there for big races, unless, of course, it's an Everest or a Melbourne Cup. I said, what chance are you of being at Karaka Million night? He said, I want to be here. And Butch, great news for the industry. He said, I'm 70-30 to make it, and that may improve, and I will confirm in the first week of January. With the status he's got now, not just as a jockey, but as a sportsman in this country, that would absolutely be the cream on the cake.
Yeah, it would. Look, it would be tremendous for the industry to have someone of James's standing with the recognition that he received recently as the world's best jockey, you know, and hopefully by then he's a nomination for the Hellberg Awards, because it would be a travesty if he wasn't a nomination. Whether he would win it or not, I'm not sure, but he should be a nomination by just the virtue of the season that he's had and the fact that he's been officially recognised as the best in the world in the pigskin.
Okay, let's talk about what's going to head forward over the summer later on the other side here of weigh-in. But before we head to the break, we're going to give you a taste of some Southern racing action. Here's the Tapanui Cup with Zach Black.
Gap to so much more, and also our boy Richie into the front straighter, and going up on the outside, Zach Black with a big runner. Father Linehan, Zach Black, Sympathique, Humbucker just couldn't go with them. It comes to the outside, but Zach Black's in front. Father Linehan tries harder. Zach Black, Father Linehan, a stirring duel, but Zach Black wins the cup.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Yes, you weigh-in is your chance every week to have your say about who the heroes of the racing week were. And this week, our heroes are Peter and Shaw Mackay. They went to Trentham, they trained a double, which is no mean feat on a big day. Here is Perfect Puss. You saw Sagunto earlier in the program, and this one looking very progressive, lots of reach for it. Nominated by Regan Belsham. So Regan said their wins and the dominating win of Sagunto in the Manawatu Cup, showing what a great team they are. So Regan, well done to you for acknowledging and recognising Team Mackay for their big day at the office on Saturday, and Regan is our winner. Every week here on Weigh In, we have the opportunity for you to nominate your winners via social media or via email. By the way, next week's Weigh In show won't be on Monday. That's Boxing Day, a massive day around the country for racing. We will be back at 10:30 on Tuesday morning. So all the stuff you might not catch first time around and all the interviews will be next Tuesday, both here on Trackside and of course online to review Boxing Day around the country. Let's cross the Tasman to Eagle Farm, where very shortly Queensland is starting to ignite a massive January with the Magic Millions just around the corner. Here's a New Zealand bred 3-year-old. This is the Grand Prix. This is Kovalica. And for the second year in a row, the winner of this race, last year Gypsy Goddess, has come out of the well-renowned Curramore stud. Here's Kovalica bolting home, another one purchased by Guy Mulcaster for Team Waller.
No one a deal. Kendos Cosmos runs home well. Likewise, Tapple Doodle Do, but Kovalica's too good. And Kovalica's won from second. No one a deal. Third, Kendos Cosmos out of Tapple Doodle Do tradition.
Yeah, Butch, that just has Derby, Derby, Derby written all over it.
Yeah, it does. The captain will be pretty happy with himself securing that one for some good clients of his. And gee, you wanted to be on the corner. I don't know what they'd be offering in running, but it wouldn't have been much more than $1.05. It was just absolutely trotting. Son of Ocean Park, I think, isn't he? And he looks very, very progressive.
He sure does. Also at Eagle Farm on Saturday, a horse you may remember, You Called It, won twice at Cup Week at Riccarton last year for Kevin Myers. A horse who started his career at Reefton, winning on debut for Sam O'Malley back nearly 24 months ago now. Here, You Called It goes to the listed Loch Nay Stakes, and in the Australian bloodstock colours, just hacks up.
Here's You Called It running home powerfully down the outside between the Rainbow Connection. Rabamos further back and Vinco's out wider, but You Called It shot clear here. Seconds Holyfield weaving home late Rabamos and further back to Vinco Rainbow Connection, but it's all You Called It. And You Called It's won it well. Second Rabamos, third Holyfield, followed by Rainbow
They are huge
Connection.
investors in New Zealand bloodstock, Australian bloodstock. They like buying horses from over here, and they've got a good one there in You Called It, who is now a stakes performer all the way from Reefton to Eagle Farm. Let's head to Randwick on Saturday. There was a New Zealand bred and formerly trained treble out of the day, and Tony Ryder, a guy who talking about people who invest plenty in the industry from Milan Park. You know the colours, the yellow cap and the red and black checks coming out wide now. He owns the winner here in our Medina, formerly Medina, and this horse's little sister actually won race 2 or 3 it was yesterday out of Gore. So Al Medina successful once again for Tony Ryder.
Medina from Festival Dancer, and Al Medina beat Festival Dancer. Nothing Sweet About Me third, then Sweet Ruby, Belarus and Frumos beat.
Yeah, Zindora, its younger sister, or half by Medaglia Dioro, won the second at Gore yesterday. And look, Butch, it's always great to see New Zealand colours winning at Randwick. We know lots of New Zealand bred horses win there, but we've seen a lot of success for Waikato Studs colours and obviously before that Cambridge Stud. But Tony Ryder is an incredibly enthusiastic guy, and he would have really enjoyed this.
Yeah, sure would. I've got a winner early in the day at Trentham as well, so out of the Guy Lowry stable. So yes, Tony would have enjoyed this. Milan Park, the colours, and I remember this one being successful at Avondale. Was it a Baker Forsman one, I think, from memory? And it was successful here in New Zealand and now over the Tasman.
Let's talk about, away from that incident in Sydney, a far more controversial incident in Melbourne. This one is going to cause a lot of debate. There was a dead heat in the 5th on the card coming out of Flemington. Now the second, or the horse who dead heated on the outside, you're looking here for the horse in the brown and yellow colours. Now that's stomping down the outside. Look at Blake Shin's hand close to us. He has used the whip more times than allowed before the 100 metre mark. He's not using it very hard, but horse gets up to dead heat, but is then relegated by the stewards. The stewards lodged the protest themselves and said to Blake, he used the whip too many times before the 100, even though it didn't appear to be overzealously, and relegated the horse because of the dead heat, saying the margin was so small, you must have gained some advantage. This is the first time, Andrew, that we've seen a horse relegated in Victoria because of the whip rule. I'm not saying it's going to set a definitive precedent, but it's going to have a lot of people talking and a lot of rival trainers popping into the stewards room after races if they believe their rival has gained a whip advantage.
Yeah, it mightn't be a precedent, but it certainly puts a line in the sand and says, guys and girls, if you don't follow the rules, then the ultimate penalty can be given. I think the fact it's a dead heat makes it easier. If there's a margin, it's really tough to turn over a margin, I suppose, because how do you say? But the fact that they've dead heated, one's played with the rules, within the rules, one hasn't, probably, how do you not relegate in a situation like that? And look, the rules are there. I read Blake Shin admitted that he got it wrong as to where the 100-metre mark was and had used the whip too many times. So yeah, it's a really interesting one, and it'll create plenty of interest going forward.
It will, and it might create plenty of trainers, owners, other people counting other jockeys' whip usage before the 100-metre mark. I don't really want to think about that the week before Christmas, to be completely honest.
We don't have many dead heats, though. I
No,
just think a dead heat makes it so much easier to make that relegation.
You could technically say, if you break the rules, the horse should be disqualified. And absolutely, I don't want to think about that before Christmas because it hurts my head. But it will be reappearing on your television screens in 2023. Also reappearing on your television screens in 2023 will be this: Jamie Richards, training winners in Hong Kong. He'd already trained 3. Now, here is his first at headquarters, as he calls it. Congratulations to Jamie, to Danielle, who'll be right alongside him for this remarkable transition in their lives. Here's Jamie's first Sha Tin victory.
United, we stand still, the leader. He's getting tired. He's 3 in front of Superwise Dragon, and Holy Power has come through near the inside. Out wide is Brave Dreams. Holy Power and Brave Dreams, and Holy Power has beaten Brave Dreams and Superwise Dragon. Master of Luck flew home from easy snip.
Doing a great job, isn't he, Butch? Because you get up there to Hong Kong and look, the wins very quickly will have a snowball effect. If you don't get them, that has a melting snowball effect, and Jamie is luckily becoming on the right side of the ledger now.
Oh, for sure. It's very much fashionable. You need to be training winners. You need to be riding winners if you're a jockey up there, and you're considered lucky or unlucky pretty quickly. So Jamie, he'll continue that tremendous work ethic that he had here in New Zealand. There was no one there earlier than him. No one worked harder than Jamie, and I'm sure he's doing the same up there. And ultimately, that will stand by him. But look, it's not been easy. It's not been an easy start. But to get that first winner at Sha Tin, a massive step forward for him.
As a New Zealand star emerges on the international stage, one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest, in international racing, announced his retirement over the weekend. Frankie Dettori, or Franco Dettori, will be giving up riding at the end of 2023. So it'll be a good long farewell tour. Everybody will get a chance to see Frankie before he bows out, but he will be leaving race riding at the end of next year. Once again, plenty more of Franco will be coming up on your television screens in the next 12 months. We'll take a break here on Way, and on the other side, we're going to talk about one of the successes of spring in New Zealand racing. His name is Prussia. He has been enormous for Rich Hill Stud. Let's head there on the other side of this break and find out more.
From now on, our troubles will be miles away.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Every now and then a stallion, whether they've been around for a few seasons or they are new, comes on board and has an explosive period in their career. That has been the spring for Prussia from Rich Hill Stud. Emily Bosson travelled down there to find out more.
Carl, amazing results lately. It's been such a run for Prussia. Could you have imagined it would have been this good?
Well, Emily, we were sort of, we've been watching Prussia for a long time, and he's such an amazing horse himself as a racehorse, and when he came to Rich Hill. He's just such a fantastic looking horse. So we dreamed about these sort of results, and yeah, I guess we're sort of basking in it for the moment. It seems to be coming to fruition. It's been 8 years at stud, and yeah, I think what we're seeing now is, geez, I just can't wait to see the next 5 years.
What's he like to have around the farm?
Oh, he's a magnificent horse, Emily. He's certainly a favourite. They call him Ted the Staff. He's just got the most cruisy sort of nature. He's like a big teddy bear, and they said that in the stable, when he was in the stable at Gay Waterhouses. He didn't even know he was a colt. He's just a beautiful temperament and yeah, gorgeous horse in all respects.
When you check the results, he seems to get winners pretty much every race day. But these top-line winners, Group 1 classic winners, 3-year-old winners, that's really what it's about, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Look, he's a punter's friend. His percentage is quite amazing, the progeny that actually win races. But to win the big races, he's a horse that sort of started off at $7,000. As a service fee. So he's done it the hard way for the first 5 years anyway. And yeah, they're winning the big races. He's had 9 stakes winners, 13 stakes placed horses, and he's only had 200 runners. So, it's still early days in his career.
Yeah. How did you acquire Prussia originally?
Prussia, well, he was a top. You would know from your Dundee days, he was a top racehorse in his day. He was a top 3-year-old, and he sort of went off the scene. He injured himself and he was off the scene for a while, and he came back. They moved him from Gay Waterhouses to Peter Snowden's stable, and Snowden just had a massive opinion of the horse, but he injured himself again, and he came on the market. I think it was Michael Otto who gave John Thompson a call here and suggested you might want to take a look at this horse. So Johns was obviously, remembered him as a racehorse running against Dundee, and he was in a vintage year of 3-year-olds, and John flew over, looked at the horse, loved the horse, and the deal was done with Tony Falcone and his brother.
What has breeder support been like through that time, and how has it changed, I guess, now?
Look, he's had fantastic support all the way through. He's got a great shareholder base behind him, some very, very enthusiastic Prussia supporters in the team. And so he's always had great numbers. He's averaged 130 mares every year at stud. So he's had the numbers. Quantity is absolutely important. He hasn't quite had the quality. At $7,000, you're not getting the Book 1 mares. But the really exciting thing is he's made good with what he's been presented. He's made absolutely good. We call him the upgrader, and that's a term that's certainly stuck.
With him being an upgrader and his horses winning Group 1s, are you seeing an improvement in the quality of mares that he's receiving? Oh,
absolutely. As I said, the first 5 years he was at $8,000. He went to $9,000. To be fair, Emily, the horses we're seeing race and winning Group 1s, all his horses racing to date were bred off that $7,000 fee. So he went to $9,000, and that crop are the yearlings that are going to be selling at Karaka. But the quality's gone up year by year, and the last couple of years it's improved. And this year he's getting the Group 1 mares, the producers of, stakes horses, and God, you can only imagine if he started with this quality of mare, so it's really exciting.
Is there a favourite horse racing for you, or a favourite one of his progeny that you've seen that's a highlight moment?
Oh, look, I've been, me amongst others have been huge Prussia supporters, and for me Riadini's probably a favourite. He was bred by Alan Galbraith here at Rich Hill director, and he's been a staff favourite. We followed him all the way through. He was a very good 2-year-old. He started racing in July as a 2-year-old, and he's been in top company as a 2, 3, 4, 5, and now 6-year-old. So yeah, he's a bit of a superstar, but no, we love all the Prussias.
Speaking of Riadini, of course, he does his racing in Australia, as did Prussia. Have you noticed any international interest with these big results that you're getting lately? Oh, absolutely. Funny you should say that, Emily. Just in the last week or two, we're getting calls from Australians because they're a pretty enthusiastic bunch. He hasn't, he's been on their radar through the likes of Riadini and Yonts and some good horses over there, but with the lower service fee, and to be fair, they haven't really looked at buying his yearlings, but they've been buying his nice horses off the track. And with what's been going on this spring, well, we're getting calls from the Australians wanting, is there any shares available in Prussia? Is there any mares for sale, in foaled Prussia? So, yeah, we're really excited about Karaka coming up. Obviously, he's leading that New Zealand sire ranks at the moment. Can that continue throughout the rest of the season? Oh, look, well, we're nearly 4 months into it, Emily. He's got a commanding lead in both the general sires table and the 3-year-old sires table, but you never
never write off Savabeel. He's 8 years consecutive champion stallion in New Zealand, but we'd like to think Prussia will give him a good shake this year.
There's great debate about what his service fee might be off the back of these wonderful results. Any thought around that?
Oh, look, only my own thoughts, Emily. Everyone's got an opinion. At the end of the day, it'll be John Thompson and Alan Galbraith and a few of the Prussia syndicate that sit down and talk about it. But for me, I think we could have stood him at 25,000 this year and filled his book easily. And John did say when we stood him at 17.5 at the start of the season, you know, it may quickly look very, very cheap. So, you know, he could easily double his fee. You look at what he's done to date and what he's going to do over the next 6 months. And then you look also at the competition among the stallion ranks, who he's competing against. So, yeah, it'll be going up.
I just wanted to sort of go in depth into some of his top performers. Tell me about, first of all, the Group 1 winners.
The Group 1 winners, well, I mean, obviously Levante, everybody knows, a double Group 1 winner, and she's, you know, she's been a little bit unlucky, to be fair, in 2 Australian Group 1s, so I'm sure we'll see her get a Group 1 over there. And then this season, well, you know, Dark Destroyer started it off with the Tarzino, and that was fantastic. You know, he was unlucky in the Group 1 Queensland Derby. And then, of course, we've had the classic double with Pierre and Legato, so, you know, it doesn't get too much better than that. And in that mix is Prowess. You know, to me, she's going to be a really exciting Oaks filly in the autumn. So, but you know, if you look in the Derby nominations for you know, the new season, you'll see Prussia's got about 5 or 6 that, you know, they look, talking to the connections and the trainers, that their half chances have been in that Derby, some of them.
And what about the attributes he leaves in his progeny? What makes them such good racehorses?
They've got that turn of foot, you know, a lot of them, and Prussia had that electric turn of foot. You know, even Hugh Bowman said his acceleration was his biggest weapon. So, and that only the good horses, Hugh said, had that. So, yeah, that acceleration, and it's, I guess it's, you know, the versatility too. They seem to be able to do everything so far. Quite obvious to the punters in particular, at the end of a dogfight, at the end of a race, the Prussias never seem to give in, you know, and I guess that's the hallmark of a great stallion.
Yeah, thanks to Emily, who couldn't be with us here today. Emily's having a well-earned break with Opie and the family, and a great insight there into Prussia and Rich Hillstad. Well done to everybody involved. But you have it happen occasionally, don't you? We've seen a bit of Purin Canto earlier this year, and when those stallions just arrive, and I always think about it as the arrival as being this thing. If someone says to you on sales day, do you want to come look at a Prussia? The answer is now yes. So,
yeah, and that defines it to an extent, but that week at Riccarton, winning both of those guineas is a massive fillip for the horse. Already on the board with the likes of Levante, but Pierre and Legato doing what they've did with so much before them. You know, they'll both end up in Australia, and on what we've seen, they're going to have to be very competitive at the highest level of their 3-year-olds as well. So, yeah, look, he's had a wonderful, wonderful spring, and no reason it can't transfer into the autumn.
It's been cyclical, as it often is for stallions, but we often have these gaps appear in our stallion ranks, and 4 or 5 years ago, when we had several high-class stallions like Tavistock pass away, I feared for our stallion ranks because they're incredibly hard to replace, but all of a sudden we have Prussia kicking a goal, Purin Canto, of course, the leading stallion in Hong Kong and having Group 1 success in Australia. Al Manzoor has absolutely arrived with the Karaka Million and a Derby winner, and then you have horses like Hello Youmzane who are in the country now and are big ticket items. It feels like we've refilled the stocks a bit.
Yeah, look, exactly.
And Super Seth, I shouldn't have
and Ocean Park, you know, he's really started to kick goals, and we saw that winner during the program earlier on Saturday in Brisbane, and you'd think there's a derby in the offing for him. So, look, it is great that these stocks have been replenished, and I suppose it goes a little bit to what our breeders pride themselves in is some of those classic and staying type horses. So they take time. They're not going to be an instant success, some of these stallions, because they're not going to be out winning those hot 2-year-old races early. But as they get into their classic years and beyond, we start to see that success.
Karaka, not too far away. It's slightly different this year. The sales are heading back to the back end of January, but actually a week away from the Karaka Million, which I'm not sure is a great idea, but I realise there's dates involved in that. What are you expecting from Karaka, from the sales? Because you've been involved in the sales at a very high level for a long time. You're a bid spotter, you know everybody involved. I thought there was enough enthusiasm on the ground at the RTRs or the ready-to-runs to say that there'll be a lot of Australians and Asian visitors here.
Oh, there will be, and that'll be the first time they've been here for some time, for 2 Karaka sales, isn't it? They haven't been able to get here because of the COVID restrictions. It'll be great to have them all back on the complex. We'd like to see a really successful summer of racing for New Zealanders to get through. We've got, we've got some I hate the word, but they keep using it, headwinds that that we need to make sure that we can try and traverse and get through from a funding perspective for New Zealand racing, so that there is some confidence for the domestic market to participate as well, because we can't just rely on the international investors. We need a very strong domestic market as well.
All right, lots going on, lots of change in racing at the moment. So what's happening next? Well, we head to Boxing Day at Pukekohe, so that'll be next Monday. Weigh-in will appear on Tuesday. Then we head to Butcher's Track to Rapa for the first, a massive, massive meeting, free entry there. Again, weigh-in will be with you the next day to digest and review all of the racing from there. Karaka Million is heading to Pukekohe on the 21st. The sales roll on after that, and then Te Rapa takes centre stage for the Legends Day in a $450,000 Herbie Dyke. I hadn't actually realised it's that much. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. It's great it's the richest weight for age race in New Zealand, and hopefully just had a message coming through from Graham Rogerson that Sharp and Smart wants to gallop on New Year's Day. So hopefully that's where he's heading, because he's a proper horse.
Okay, as mentioned at the start of the show, while we are still celebrating racing, we haven't felt quite as celebratory this week, because on Thursday we lost a young lady, way too young. Megan Taylor passed away after that racing accident at Ashburton. For many people, that shock has become sadness that will be there for a long time. I didn't have the pleasure of knowing Megan, so I spent a lot of the weekend ringing those who did. These are some of the words they used to describe her: polite, fun, honest, enlightening, special to be around. I rang her friend Kylie Williams. I said, tell me about what Megan was like. She said she loved chocolate. There's no surprise for a young lady. She said she always stood up for herself. She had a sense of humour. She said she was a character, and she goes, I'll think about her after the races at Cromwell with her big bottle of Spates sitting on the table and just being herself. The more I asked, the more I wished I'd had the opportunity to meet her, because she sounds like the sort of person all of us in racing would have enjoyed the company of. I also found out that she liked to go fast on horses. She did that 16 times in her career, faster than her rivals. We're going to look at some of these shortly. But from the weigh-in team, we wish you a safe Christmas, and we just wish that Megan Taylor could have continued to go fast on horses for years to come.
It's Amber Echo in front. Megan Taylor gets a double. Well done. Bad Flamingo hitting the lead from Pomander, and then has it all. Here's a special win. This one for Cubes. It's Bad Flamingo punched out, and Megan Taylor loved it. Raposa Repeater flashing home for the tail of the field. It's getting home really well. They hit it. I reckon it got there. Raposa Repeater. I reckon it'll be the one, Megan Taylor.